everybody, it's Hannah from Mother Goose's Makery, and today I'm going to be making the Tonic Studios glorious grandfather clock die set. This launched as part of Tonic's birthday week. It was exclusive to Hobby Maker on the 1st of August and is coming to Tonic's own website on Tuesday the 18th of August. It makes a little gift box, grandfather clock. It's big enough to fit a small wine bottle in. It's very cute. It also comes with foil fusion, and this is to accent your grandfather clock. So as you can see on the box example, they've used this pattern for the sides. You've got some clock faces in there and some of the little bits that go on the corners. So you can add a touch to it. And then there's also some more festive Christmassy ones. So this one has holly and berries on. And so it can all be thematic. But wait, there's more. It also comes with a set of rub-ons. In this set of rub-ons, you get 2 sheets. Which you can get out the packet, honestly. They're not stuck in there forever. And a lolly stick. So, this page is inserts for the inside of your grandfather clock, so this bit here. And we seem to have all the different seasons, so I'd say spring, autumn, that's all pumpkin-y, summer, with the flowers, and winter, because it's snowy. And then on this one, we have 3 different clock faces that you can transfer onto your card. And then we have a forest scene and a winter village. But we're still not done yet, because there's one more thing in the set, which is a second die set, which you can use to adorn your grandfather clock. If you're making a Christmas themed clock, but would also work equally well on home decor or cards. So this is the festive foliage die set, 32 dies. This says have a holly jolly Christmas. This one says the most wonderful time of the year. Got some holly, some leaves, some swirls, gingerbread man, some bauble stars, berries, mistletoe, smaller holly, a feather? I think that's a feather, and a star. So lots of pretty things. It would be great for making wreaths with, or for decorating card fronts, or just adding a Christmas twist to any of your launches. So, I'm not going festive today. You know when you go to a car dealership and you can choose to get the all black edition of a car? That's what I've gone for. So we're going for matte black. We're going for shiny black. We are going for a gunmetal-y metallic colour, which isn't black technically, but is black adjacent. Side note, I used to work with someone called Matt Black, and I thought his name was hilarious, and he didn't understand why I thought it was funny, and I was shocked that he didn't understand why I thought it was funny, because I was like, seriously, your parents called you Matt Black? But he was like, yep, don't get why you think that's funny. Not that you should laugh at people's names, but it was funny. Right, so this is our die set. This bit here makes your sides. This die cuts into your sides for your aperture. These are some embellishment pieces. This is your pendulum. A buckle to support your pendulum by just making it 3-dimensional. This is a long spacer. This makes for your sides for the top and the bottom. There's a clock face in there which will emboss a clock face for you. More about that later. These square panels make up the top, the base and the bit you stick your clock face to. And you also have an inlaid bit, which is the same shape as the foil fusion. It's almost like this was designed intentionally. And you have these bits that are your feet down there. And this, which makes for the corners. You've got a handle for you to open it. The clock hands. These bits go on the corners of the box. You can see where the lines are there. This is some kind of hinge. These make the corners up of your box, so these attach to this. And this is a hinge. And then we have that little decoration goes in there, and some little circles to make our mechanisms look more mechanism-y. And did I mention the little mouse? There's a cheeky little mouse, a hickory dickory mouse. Clock mouse. Right, so I have cut out all my pieces, and this is where I have a disclaimer. For if you read the instructions, which I normally am loath to do, but thought no, I will be professional-ish. I will read the instructions. It says cut out 4 hinges, and 2 spacers, which I'm not going to show you the instructions, but look like the large spacers, but short. There is no small spacer die. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do here? And so I've gone rogue, and I'm using the hinges as small spacers. It's going to be fine, people. It's going to be fine. Or it won't, in which case I will probably edit it out, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Also, I've gone W rogue because I've decided to make this into a working clock. So I have a clock mechanism that was sitting in my craft room unused, and all I've done is I have put an extra one of the square panels just over it and attach the washer and the nut. And then we'll pop the face on and the hands. And then we should, fingers crossed, end up with a working grandfather clock, which will be pretty damn cool. Obviously, it's not going to chime, but other than that, we're all good. The first thing you're going to want to do is, of your centre panels, on 3 of them, you're going to use the inner die cut to cut out the middle and make an aperture. So what you'll see, or what I did, was I first, on the pieces I had cut out, placed that, and then I used that to centre that. Because I knew if I was just randomly guessing where it was going to go, I was going to fail miserably. So I put that down, removed that, stuck that down, and then die cut out the central part. Similarly, on one of your 8 main panels, which make up the top and the bottom, you're going to want to cut out the circle of the clock. So again, take your main die, pop that down over the top, and then place that, remove that, stick that down, die cut. Okay? And that will get you the bits with holes that need to have holes. So I've started out by making the base. I've just stuck these together because it was quicker. So you attach 4 of the main panels together by the side flap, and then the top flap, which has this little angled bit. Bend that, and stick that to its neighbour, so you can see in here. So you just end up with a chamfered edge, and then I haven't attached the third side yet, because we're going to do that a bit later. And then I've just attached these adornments in the corner for Jessie's sake. Then next we're going to be gluing together the rest of our 4 panels. So that's why I did the other one off screen, because I figured you'd see me do this one, and why watch me stick together 8 panels when you can just watch me stick together 4. So super simple. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue along the edge. And glue the next piece up to the line. And then the next one. The line. And then the last one. Make sure it's the same way around. Just stick it up to the line. And then we're going to use our bone folder. My Teflon one has gone walkabouts, so I'm just going to use my one from my We Are scoreboard. And there we have a top to our clock. But we're not going to stick the rest of it together yet. So we're just going to place this to the side, let it dry. Now it's time to stick together the centre panels, but I'm just going to call them the main body of the clock. I feel like a magician dealing cards. So we have these 4, and they are going to be joined using these Grecian column type looking things. So we're just going to fold these along the centre. Just going to apply glue to all of the back of this. And then I think they're symmetrical, however there is a teeny tiny line here which we're going to use in a second, so I'm just making sure they're all the same way around, just in case they're not symmetrical. I've fallen foul of things that look symmetrical in card making, 3D making before, and then they turn out not to be, and I end up looking like a fool. And I don't like that, so we try to minimise the fool looking as much as possible. And we're now going to leave this dry. So we've got 1, 2, 3 centre panels, and this one is an apertured one. And then what we're going to need to do is take 2 more that have the aperture in. Couldn't think what that word was for a second. And I don't know if you can just see where those little lines are here and here, and we're just going to slice across there. So I'm just going to use a little guillotine to just chop it off, because otherwise I know me and I won't get a straight edge. So as you can see, we have a nicely scalped one. So what we're going to do, turn that over and glue around the back. I'm going to glue that to this one. Now, it says in the instructions, line up the apertures. I cheated. When I did the die cutting, I put my 3 together and just die cut the apertures in one fell swoop, so they'd be perfectly aligned, because I had a feeling that otherwise I was probably going to fail. And then also this says that this now needs to be glued to the back of this. And also, do not glue above that line. So what I've done is I put glue on the back of the short one, so that I'd only have glue there, and then I'll put glue on the front of this one, so I'll only ever have glue in the correct place. Because we don't want to get it wrong. That would suck. Again, just line it up, and you can see that because of how I've cut it, all our apertures are perfectly in line. And the last bit we're going to do for the centre panel is attach these 4 rounded hinges to the bottom. So just score them in half. Oh. And then we are just going to glue them at the bottom of here. And this will enable us to glue these bits to the bottom of our grandfather clock box. Because these bits will get glued behind the chamfered edges we had before. I think this is one of those makes where there's quite a few pieces, but it's not actually that difficult to construct. And good golly, it's going to look fantastic when it's done. It's like my daughter, it's tiny but mighty. And I think that's particularly cool. Would I have preferred it to be an A4 set and had Verso dies to decorate the sides instead of 4 Fusion? Maybe. But I'm getting saying it, so it doesn't really matter. So we're going to get another one of these. And we are just going to attach these long spacers to either side. So again, I'm going to have this bit at the top So just apply glue along one half of your spacer and use that to stick it to the main panel. And then repeat on the other side. So, onto the pendulum, which makes sense because it's the next thing. Fold along these lines, here, 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 and here. So that will sit like that. And then we will also take this little piece here. This was called our buckle. It's not actually a buckle, it doesn't do anything up. But it's more of a spacer. Because you're going to glue that, and that's going to place behind there to just elevate it so that it is even with the top half and sitting three-dimensionally off of the back. So because this is in all black, I'm trying to mix up the textures a bit just to keep things interesting. You can just see this is like shinier. It's completely superfluous. You don't need to do that at all. You could just cut it out the same, but I just like the slight difference in textures because when everything's the same colour, the difference in textures just makes it more visually interesting. Like if you were to do a white on white card, nice if some of it was white and some of it was mirrored and some of it was matte. That's just me. You might just want to make it all out of white, but I like the contrast. Right, so I just thought I'd zoom in to give you a fighting chance to see what I was doing. So I'm now going to stick my little pendulum embellishments, they're the smaller die cuts within the pendulum, onto the pendulum body that I made. So there's a circle for the top, a circle for the bottom, and 2 bars that hang down off of the chains. And they'll just give an extra little glint when you look in because I'm using metallic cardstock. So we'll just make it pop. So, because I'm me, I don't like the slightly white edges because my satin card is white on the back. So I'm just going to run a black alcohol pen along the edges just to get rid of any white. Now, if we were doing one of the rub-ons, we would just do the rub-on in this section here, because that's the section that's going to be visible. But I've opted for this one. What I'm going to do, I just need to fold the edges of this, which I probably should have done before, but I didn't. Fold that along that, and I'm just gonna I don't want to see all of this top bit, but I want to see some of it. I'm going to line that up with the top and just stick it there. What I might do, things I will possibly regret. Number 1, I do not like the fact the pendula, I don't know if that's, there's whatchamacallit, plural of pendulum. I'm just going to pop that on the back because it's black. Would I do this with a white foam pen? No, I would not. trying to... Because otherwise it was looking a bit flaccid. No one wants a flaccid pendulum. We got that, and that, and that. So it was at this point of the proceedings that I decided I needed to have acetate over the window in the front and the clock face. But because I had already glued on the scalped section, I had to peel that off to put the acetate down and then stick that back down. If you are going to put acetate on your clock front, do it before you have stuck that spacer on. It will make your life so much easier. It worked the way I did it, and I could have just cut out some more bits. But it did make my life harder, and my final stage didn't go quite as I wanted to because of it. So make sure you stick the acetate on first if you're choosing that as an option. Equally, you don't need to put acetate on the front of the clock. That doesn't need to happen. That is completely optional as well. So you do you. This looks a little bit mucky. However, what we're going to do is place this here. So you're never going to be able to tell. It's fine. Now the point I will make is, if you don't stick acetate to the front, then I believe that your mechanism would just slightly, ever so slightly, like a hair's breadth, protrude out the hole. However, I have stuck acetate on. So what I'm doing is I've cut 2 more of the spacer, and I'm just sticking the spacer to the spacer, so it's gone from being a spacer of half a width, it's now a spacer of a full width. And you see then, when you place that behind, all of a sudden that is set further back. Now, obviously, this is me fixing a me problem, and if you do everything according to the instructions, you shouldn't have to do that. I scuppered myself with acetate and foam pads. So I'm just going to pop glue along one side of the spacer and attach that to the frame. The other side I'm going to stick when I put the entire box together. Off screen, I have done a whole lot of embellishing. So, around these sides, I put on side panels in a pearlescent black, and then I put in the same gunmetal there, just to add some interest. On this one, we've got the same pearlescent panels on the sides. I decided not to go down the foil fusion route. And then I've got gunmetal feet and corner schnoodles. And then I've got black pearlescent with the gunmetal on top. And then similar on the clock top. And then I've got these little winged bits. So what I have done, I'll take those out because they were just marking, was using the longer rounded hinges, I have attached my clock into my main body. Now normally you would just have the very shallow hinge, your clock front would be up here and you'd be able to store stuff in the top. But obviously because I've made this a working clock, I didn't want to set this too far forward that it clashed with the acetate. So we have our clock suspended in the middle. Ooh. And that just goes like that. I will say, in the instructions, it says to use a magnet here and to take a front and back bit and put them here with a magnet in between so that you can open and shut this. However, I didn't want to use a magnet near my watch mechanism because I didn't want it to not work. So I have not done that. Also, you would normally seal up the bottom of this using one of these with 4 hinges around it to seal up this. And I haven't done that because I want to be able to access the battery. Otherwise, once the battery needs changing, this clock becomes obsolete, which seems silly. Also, third point, and this one's very important, I did something incredibly dumb, which I didn't know was a thing and now I do. So basically, I had a clock mechanism and I trimmed down the arms to fit inside here. But I didn't take into account the fact that that would affect the balancing of the hands, and now they don't work properly. So we're just going to pretend that this working clock actually works. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not going to pretend that it's a perfect plan. I have, however, looked up small hands for a clock mechanism on Amazon, and they'll be arriving later in the week. And also be careful when Amazon searching for clock hands, because A, don't forget any letters in the word clock, but also the hands start going on about having short shafts, 1.5 inches max. Oh, there was giggles. I don't pretend I'm not childish. Okay, so now I've explained to you what's going on with my clock. Oh. Which is now seeming to tick. I didn't need to admit anything to you. Anyway, now is the time to put it together. So we have our base with our feet on. And we have this, which has attached this to here. So now, and we did our double spacer just to allow the extra space for the foam tabs I had used. And then we're just going to attach this side. One thing I am going to do, because I used acetate, rub it with an anti-static bag. So that is in place. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these and we are going to glue them to this. Do I have a front? No, that's fine. Just making sure that I wasn't about to stick this on the wrong way around, because that would be embarrassing. And the kind of thing that I would do. So we're just going to pop that in the hole. And then attach that tab to here. So then we're just going to attach side number 2. I think you're getting the idea with this. And once these 4 sides are adhered, we can do up the last side. I'm just going to apply glue to this last corner piece. And that. And that. Hold this in place here, and hold this in place here, and hope that everything in between and then we're just going to glue down the last of the decorations, which kind of helps seal the join. Obviously it's like a Velcro strap on a trainer, just putting it over the join and using it to join it. And just that one there. So now all that is joined, we are going to take one of our squares, and first things first, apply some glue to one edge, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold in all of those. I'm just going to hinge that down. So we're just going to glue it on one side. Because if you don't have it glued to anything and you're trying to do it from the inside, it's just hard to get that pressure. If you make sure it's properly attached on one side, at least it's being held there when it comes to gluing all the others. See, I am not as silly as I look. Not that you can see me, you can only see my hands, but I'm not as silly as my hands look. So now that's in, you can see it just sits there buoyantly. So we're just going to scribble with some glue on here and just push these in. Now this is where you might need a lighter, not a lighter, a ruler or a pen. I'm going to take one of my long pens. So I'm just applying pressure on the inside, pushing the base down whilst I push the flap onto the base. Here is my tip to you. In my off-air moment, I added the feet. If I had not done that, then I could be pushing this directly against the table, which would be so much easier than what I'm doing now. So I'm just gonna pop this over all the joins to tape them down. Is it cheating? I mean, technically, maybe. But we're not in a box making, to be fair, I don't even know if there are box making competitions, or if there are box making competitions, if there are rules about using red liner tape. I don't look at it as cheating, I look at it as assuring my success. So, take this off, and then what I'm going to do, even though I have applied red liner tape, you might notice from my videos that though I use red liner, it isn't really my primary sticking method, it's my making sure nothing moves method. But for primary sticking, I go with glue. So we're just going to pop this on top. The glue will allow it, the tape will allow it to stick instantly. The glue will allow it to set hard and robustly. And we're going to have a nice strong base on our lid. Not our lid, our base. We're going to have a nice strong base. End of sentence. It's been a long week, people. Okay. So our grandfather clock has started to take shape. It's funny because I saw it on TV and it looked tiny. And it felt tiny as I was making it, and now I'm getting towards the end. It's seeming a lot bigger than I realised. I'm just going to talk over this bit because I repeat it later anyway, and there's an elephant in the room to address. So, the clock face die is back to front. Tonic have been made aware of this, and they have issued a statement in their Facebook group, so you might not know if you haven't seen it, that they are remaking the clock face dies and will let everyone know how to claim them when they're in. The bit I'm currently recording over is me saying I'm not going to close the box with a magnet because I don't want to make my watch face not work. But it turns out I managed to make that not work a different way, so I end up shutting it with a magnet anyway. Anyway, back to the make. The face of the clock die is back to front. It took me ages when I was trying to line it up properly to get the numbers in the right place. It just wasn't working. What I ended up doing was I cut out the circle, flipped it over, and then embossed the back of it using an embossing mat and plate, so that it's coming from the back up, and we effectively have a reflection of it. And now my clock is telling the correct time. I was like, oh no, it's not. But I've realised it's because I'm holding it upside down. It should be this way up. Oh no, have I put my clock in upside down? Oh no, now I'm confused. Oh, have I done something stupid? Okay. So, it is at this moment that I have realised that I have stuck my clock on at a 90-degree angle. This is the problem with making crafts on almost no sleep. Bear with whilst I just remedy this awful mistake. So hilariously, after all the efforts I had gone to emboss my clock face so it told the correct time, I managed to completely muck up the application of it because I stuck my hinges to the wrong sides and ended up flipping it 90 degrees. I then try to peel off the clock face. It isn't moving. So I'm going to need to cut a new square and a new clock face and then emboss the clock face. And then my clock mechanism doesn't work anyway. So at this point, I am going to abandon this working clock scenario. It is not happening for me. I've had enough. I am now just going to make a normal, non-functioning clock face, but still a cool grandfather clock box. And I could have edited all of this out and just given a different reason why I had taken out the clock mechanism. But look, we are human, we make mistakes, we have great plans that turn out to be dreadful plans, and I think it's best to be honest about our little faux pas, because we all make them, and sometimes it's nice to know that other people also make dumb mistakes, because it can make us feel better about ourselves. So revel in the fact that you didn't waste all of this time doing what I did. Learn from my mistakes. So we're going to bid this clock goodbye. We gave it a fair crack. It would have been amazing. However, too many problems have occurred. And I can't be doing with it anymore. So we're just gonna pop that there. So bear with whilst I make a new clock face off camera. So do you ever have one of those moments where it just all kind of goes a bit wrong? So the clock's gone wrong. We've removed this. And then I tried to recreate that and I was having no luck. It was kind of coming out, I have a different die cutting machine at home. It's kind of coming out more like a compass. And I can't get up to get my tangerine. So, we are where we are. I did, however, have to hand an embossing folder that also has a clock on it. So, this is not from the set. Okay, this is from my own personal stash. And I just punched out a 1.5 inch circle and then ran that through the embossing folder. And yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so then I'm going to apply that to another one. Just kind of give it a bit of gravitas. Obviously, if you have another clock in your stash, I did have a perfect clock, but it was too big. Thus wasn't a perfect clock. But if I did everything normally, this wouldn't be me. So, because said hinge spaces do not exist, we are just using, small spaces don't exist, we are just using the hinges either side of the clock face. And then that is going to be stuck in here. You also need to stick the clock face on, otherwise it's going to be the world's saddest clock. Right, this time we are going to stick it with the 12 at the top, which is where I went wrong last time. Do I feel this could benefit from a foam pad? Maybe. I think we're good. So I'm just going to trial glue down either side. Pop it right up next to, but not over the fold. And then on the other side, we're just going to glue it again, right up to and not over the fold of the flap that will stick to the front of the clock face. Right, so we've now glued our clock face either side, and you'll be able to see it through the glass like so. That looks really cool. Now, because I've got acetate on there from my little cheeky window I added, I'm just going to use a bit of red liner tape to just seal this up, because otherwise I'm going to be trying to stick glue to acetate and that ain't going to be happening, and I don't have all day. So I'm just going to put the tape in the middle, because on either side we have the same decorative flaps that went round. So I'll pop a little bit of glue so that if it does decide to stick to the acetate, it can. However, it doesn't need to, because we've also got these as like a belt and braces situation. It's just a smidge of glue on there and there, and fold that down and fold that down. And as we have abandoned our working clock mechanism, we can now shut it as one was supposed to. So I might as well show you what you're supposed to do. So, 2 magnets. One goes on the front. Now, I will say, these are Tonic magnets, and they actually come with their own sticky dots to make applying them really easy. Now, have I at some point taken the sticky dots out of this packet? Yes, I have. Did I put them back? No, I did not. Am I now sticky dotless? Yes, I am. So, there's a valuable lesson about tidying up as you go. But, if nothing else, red line tape works a treat. I'm just going to peel that top bit off and pop our magnet just behind. And then what we're going to do is we have double storage. We're going to stick one underneath. And then we're going to cover that with another one. So we just make sure all 4 of our hinges are folded, and then we are going to stick them around the perimeter of our last base piece, and then that will go in the bottom of the clock to separate out the storage unit at the top from the main body of the clock inside. However, if you wanted to store something that was slightly too tall for the main body, you could just miss out this step and then you have slightly more headroom inside your box. We're going to pop glue all the way around. I think we're mostly just going to hope for the best. That's what I'm going to do anyway. Just smear that in, because I find that works better. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to place it in here, and then run my fingers along here, and then we're just going to fold in the sides, thus forever trapping this piece. So melodramatic. So, again, same as on the bottom ones, on the ones that made the base, we are just going to do the corners. We are just going to add on our 4 decorative corners like we had on the other side. See, there's mirroring from the top to the bottom. There are small bits you can lay on top of this, the way we laid these on the black pearl, but because these are metallic, I'm not going to layer anything on top of them because my self-loathing isn't that high, but I'm going to subject myself to that. I'm just going to pop these on the corner, and this will strengthen the join we've just made. It's like marriage counselling. This strengthens the marriage. Allegedly. Though I am divorced, so maybe that's not true. But also I'm remarried, so maybe that is, I don't know. Anyway. When this dries, this will just hold these in place. Again, we're belt and bracing it. In America, do you have the phrase belt and suspender? Just wondering. Because obviously what you call suspenders is what we call the thing that holds up women's stockings. So I don't know what it is that you call that. Honestly, I'm sorry I subject you to my inner monologue, but this is what I have to live with 24/7. So just be thankful you only have to take it 1 hour at a time. And what we need is 2 more of these. We had a slight technical difficulty because I faffed for so long with the whole clock face debacle, most of which I have cut out, but spent so long faffing with that that my phone ran out of battery and the end of the video did not record. So I believe we've got up to the point where we put in this base and we were closing these corners. And once I'd done that, then I added 2 of the rounded hinge. So 1 at the back and 1 at the front. The one at the back attaches to the main body. The one at the front is just going to slot down in there and shut our grandfather clock. And that's it. That's the make. Annoyingly that we lost the last 5 minutes, but it's just me sticking some card together, and I've told you exactly what I've done. Mine isn't shutting properly because obviously, do you remember when I took this off and flipped it round because I was annoyed about acetate? So I don't have the second piece. This is supposed to slot in between this and the piece of card behind it. And obviously, there is no piece of card behind it because I cut it off. So that's on me. But I love it. Look, it's amazing. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. I hope this is all in shot. Otherwise, that's going to be quite embarrassing. It looks fabulous, really detailed. Inside, to give a vague idea of size, we've got an entire bottle of Nuvo glue, and it's the big bottle. And there's still loads of space in here, so you could easily fit someone to drink. Yeah. So I hope you liked the video. I hope this was helpful. I hope it's cleared up some of the issues that I thought there was a tiny bit of confusion over, and you learn from my mistakes. If you're going to do a working clock mechanism, don't cut the hands off. See, we live and learn. We grow. So if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up because it really helps my algorithm. If you're new here, hey, please subscribe. If you're not new here, but you keep coming back, also, please subscribe. Because, you know, we have fun. It's a bit chaotic. It doesn't always go according to plan, but we get there in the end. But yes, if you're wanting to buy this set, it launches on the Tuesday the 18th of August at 4 PM on the Tonic website. I do have an affiliate link to the Tonic website on my bio. If you want to use it, no pressure. It would be appreciated if you did. If you don't, then fair. As for that, if you have any questions, let me know and I can try and help. But yes, keep crafty, friends. Bye.